Hello and welcome to my review of the Tyranids Lictor for Warhammer 40,000 from Games Workshop. I'm sure I put the Lictor down somewhere for this review. Anyway, this model will cost you £30 and consists of 56 plastic components and comes with a 50mm round base, which is 10mm smaller than the Death Leaper, but don't tell the Lictor that. The format of this review is as normal. I'll go through the model, we'll look at the detail if we can spot it, and I'll go through how easy it was to build, its options, compare it to the Death Leaper in terms of those and the parts. Speaking of which, we will go through the spare parts, then I'll do some size comparisons, and finally we'll go through all of the rules. So first things first, say the elephant in the room, is the price point. At first I thought £30 was quite a lot, but then Games Workshop a year or 2 years ago actually released Morgan Ra for £27.50. They've recently released a Terminator Chaplain for £26. And then of course the other end of the spectrum, faction specific, they've released the Death Leaper for £37.50, you know, £7.50 more for 12 components fewer. 12 components is considerable as well. This is one of the best, if not the best, kit out of the entire new Tyranid range. In terms of number of components, value for money, the rules are alright. This and the Von Ryan Leapers are my favourite out of the whole release. But anyway, on to this. Let's have a look at the model itself. It can come out of hiding. Come on, you can come out. Don't be shy. Gorgeous. So here it is, everyone. This is the Lictor. I do have a Lictor, I think, in Finecast. I don't know why, but I do somewhere. I'm going to have to find it, aren't I, at some point. But yes, this is a very, very cool model. It doesn't take too long to build. I think I built it in a live stream or close to a live stream. I'm sure I did, and the Death Leaper. You've got three options, three posable options. You can already see one on the box there. So you can have it in its legendary pose with it stood up on a bit of a scenic base actually, with the two talons open like a praying mantis ready to pounce, or this is one of the other options you can go for, which is it kind of skulking around, hunting its prey with its talons, I say sheathed, you know, undeployed. And then there is yet another option, a third option indeed, which isn't even on the box. I think it's in the instruction manual. I'm not quite sure if it's even on the website pictures, but it's kind of looking to the left with its talons slightly different. And the way they do that is because you only get one pair of talons in the box. The way they do that is they have different kind of, I want to call them elbow joints or shoulder joints that mean you can pose these talons in you know, a few different ways. So there is that. I think it's a lovely model. I think £30 is fine for this size and the number of options and the spare parts you get and things. And the detail is very nice and definitely a big upgrade from anything we've ever had before in terms of a Lictor model for Tyranids. I think they've done a fantastic job. We will compare it to the Death Leaper later on. Firstly, let's have a look at those spare parts, which I keep banging on about. They're right here, and yes, these are all the spare parts from the Lictor set. So you're left with starters, a pair of different legs. Maybe you could kind of cut them off, sinew them, I don't know, put them on a Space Marine base. There's that. You've got another pair of arms. Maybe you could put them on a gene stealer and have some fun times with some really long arms for them. Possibility. You've got some extra scenic base stuff, which there's no reason why you couldn't put this on a Space Marine base or something, just to increase the size. So yeah, there's that. That's quite cool. I like that you've got these pieces that you can use. You've got an alternative head face type thing right here. That does look a little bit different, with the tendrils sort of feeling outwards. I don't know if you can see that. I'm probably not doing it justice, but yeah, with the feeder tendrils outwards. Then you've got a number of different kind of claws and different elbow joints and necks. As I say, you can have the head facing the other way, I think in this same pose actually. So yeah, there's a number of options there and some usable spare parts, which is quite nice. So on to some size comparisons then, and we'll kick off with the Death Leaper, if I can find it. Oh yeah, it's perched up here. So there's the Death Leaper. So already you're thinking, cool, super, £7.50, that'll get me a, you know, a much bigger, more detailed, not many more parts, no, fewer parts actually, model than the Lictor. And then I could just use the Death Leaper as the Lictor. And I wouldn't really argue with you for that. Yes, if you prefer the look of the Death Leaper and you don't mind paying a little bit more, then just get the Death Leaper and use it as a Lictor. I'm sure no one would mind, unless you're at a tournament or something. But in a way, it's one of the reasons what makes this Lictor so good. It's value for money, and it's other options that you can, you know, pose it into. So yeah, compared to the Death Leaper, it's definitely a fair bit smaller. Actual model-wise though, without that big scenic pipe system, they're not that much different. The biggest difference is the claws. The claws are bigger and they're curled. The Death Leaper's got one less finger for some reason, but its index finger is very long. It's a long claw, and its mandibles are longer. It's got spikes on them. It's got a head tail with a spike on, and it's got the skirt, whatever, and the big scenic base. I actually think that the Lictor, given its history and things, should have got a more scenic base and should have been a bit bigger and things like that. But you know, but never mind. Compared to the Von Ryan Leapers, which there isn't that much difference in size with these two, the Lictor is only a little bit bigger. The talons are a bit longer, but there's not much in it. And I do really like these extra talons on the side, on the arms for the Von Ryan Leapers. I understand the use of these hands, of course, but you know, the Von Ryan Leapers don't have the hands. Compared to a Tyranid Prime right here that you'll find in the Leviathan set, there's not much in it. Prime's probably a little bit bigger. We've got the Screamer Killer moving in, a fair bit bigger than the Lictor. We've got some smaller minis like the Hormagaunts and the Termagants. They're of course smaller. And then we've got the Neurolictor. I don't know why I used the Neurolictor last, but one of the last ones. And the Neurolictor, depends on which pose you go for the Lictor. If you go for the pose for the Lictor standing up, which I will do for the second one, then it will be taller than the Neurolictor. But if you just go for this skulking one, of course it's going to be smaller. Final comparison is with the biggest new Tyranid model that was released, and that is the Norn Emissary. And you can see there that if you have the Lictor there with a few more Von Ryan Leapers, you're not going to be able to tell that much difference between them all if they're all kind of being overshadowed by the Norn Emissary. I'll give you a few more comparisons with some Imperium models from the Leviathan box set. So here's the Ballistus Dreadnought, here's the Terminator, classic face-off, usually between Gene Stealers and Terminators, but this time we've got a Lictor against the Terminator, and yeah, they're sort of pretty nicely sized, pretty nicely matched, quite cool. I like that they've gone sort of back to their roots with the Terminators and the Gene Stealers and the Tyranids. Yeah, very cool. So that's where it stands up next to those. And then the final comparison is just with the usual 40k minis. So there's the Primaris. Yeah, I mean the Primaris are making the Lictor look a bit small, but again it's because of that hunch pose. In reality the Lictor is a fair bit taller than a Primaris, and yeah, definitely you know, taller than Slimarbo and a standard Space Marine. It's, you know, these Tyranid models are going to make normal Space Marines look a bit small, even with the Termagants. Look, Termagants are fair, you know, pretty big now. But that's where it stands up next to those. Okay, we've come to the last part of the review where I will go through all of the rules for the Lictor model for Tyranids. You'll find them in your brand new 10th edition codex, which is in alphabetical order for the most part, which means you'll find it nestled between the Hive Guard and the Mel Scepter. I'd rather it be nestled between the Von Ryan Leapers and the Death Leaper, but there we are. The points cost of the Lictor is 70 points, which means it is only 5 points cheaper than the Death Leaper, and you get more for your points with the Death Leaper for sure. I'll go through some of the comparisons later on. So its stat line, it's a movement of 8 inches, toughness of 6, save of 4+, 6 wounds, leadership 7+, objective control 1. The unit composition is 1, and the model is equipped with Lictor, Claws and Talons. They are a precision melee weapon with 6 attacks, 2+ to hit, 2+ weapon skill 2+, strength 7, AP -2 and a damage of 2. It's exactly the same weapons as what the Death Leaper is equipped with. Abilities: Fights First, Infiltrators, Lone Operative and Stealth, and Faction Synapse. Those abilities are exactly the same as the Death Leaper 2. So is Feeder Tendrils, whereby each time this model destroys an enemy character model, you gain 1 command point. But one of the big differences is its second ability called Pheromone Trail. Once per battle round, you can target one model with this ability with the Rapid Ingress stratagem for 0 command points. So, you know, whether you think that's worth it or not, you know, it gives you a free stratagem. So, you know, that takes the place of the Death Leaper's Fear of the Unseen, which I think is probably more useful. Other than that, you know, they're very similar, you know, similar weapons. The other big change other than the ability is the Death Leaper's actual stat line. You know, the Death Leaper has a better save at 3+, and it also has an invulnerable save of 4+, and 1 extra wound at 7. That can make all the difference, especially those especially the 4+ invulnerable save. You know, this Lictor model, yes, it's got stealth, lone operative, infiltrate, all those kind of things, but without an invulnerable save of any kind, yeah. I think they used to have something like that, but, you know, even if they gave it like a 6+ invulnerable or even a 5+ because of a chameleon cloak or something, that would have been better than what it is. You know, 6 wounds at toughness 6 as a 4+ save. It's going to be targeted. Obviously it's got, you know, stealth, but it would be nice to have, you know, something else. Maybe even an extra ability or something. Keywords: Tyranids, Infantry, Great Devourer, Vanguard, Invader, Lictor. So there you go, that's my review of the Lictor model. I'll just do a quick comparison with the Von Ryan Leapers. You know, even the Von Ryan Leapers have an invulnerable 6+ save, and they have the same normal save. Yes, they only have 3 wounds each, but they are also faster at 10 inches. But their melee weapons are, you know, considerably worse. So it's almost like a bit of an evolutionary scale here. You go Von Ryan Leapers, Lictor, Death Leaper as the ultimate. Would they ever create a bigger one than the Death Leaper? I don't know. In a way, the Norna Simulator is kind of a bit like that, but without the stealth stuff. But there we go. I think it's a great model. A few options, which is brilliant. The price point's okay. It's just rules-wise a bit weak compared to that Death Leaper. What do you guys think of the model, the rules? How many Lictors are you going to pick up? Please do put your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. It'd be great to hear it from you. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for watching. For the Norn Queen.